5-Minute Leadership Podcast exists to help you solve your leadership shortages. It's a privilege to have my good friend, pastor of Grace Covenant Church, chaplain of the Washington Redskins, North American director for Every Nation, father of 7 children, Pastor Brett Fuller here to talk about leadership. Brett, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Brett, this morning we were talking about how some leaders use influence and other leaders use intimidation to lead. Let's talk about that. Let's pick that conversation up. And what is the difference and what happens when we use the wrong kind of leadership style?
That's a great point. I was doing my my yearly reading through the Bible, and I came upon 1 Samuel 11. It's the account of Saul taking his first moments of leadership with the nation of Israel. Jabesh-Gilead, which was a town in Israel, had been besieged and begun to be attacked by the Ammonites, and they called out for help. And Saul had just been anointed king, so this was his moment to express his leadership for the first time. He's plowing behind a couple of set of oxen, and he hears a noise, and people are weeping and wailing, trying to figure out how in the world they're going to be delivered from the Ammonites. He says, "What's wrong?" And everybody says, "Well, Ammonites have come against Jabesh-Gilead, and we don't know what to do." He cut up his oxen, sent the pieces throughout all of Israel, and said this, "If men do not follow me, then I will do to you and your oxen what has been done to my oxen."
Okay, so now that's an example of using influence.
That's intimidation right there.
Okay.
Saul was trying to figure out how in the world he could get people to follow him, but he was using intimidation to do it, saying, "If you don't follow me, I'm going to destroy your business," because oxen represented tractors. And so it was an agrarian community, and his community couldn't function without their oxen. And so he said, "You've got to follow me, or your business, as far as a farmer, is over." And you don't want to use that as your first or latter way of leadership. Intimidation is horrible.
You made the point from the scripture that this was Saul's first real leadership move, and he was new at leadership in that role, at least at that level. I wonder how often it is that younger leaders resort to intimidation. Not that older leaders can't. In your experience, is that something that's more prevalent among leaders in a new situation, or is it equally a situation with older leaders?
Well, I think it's commonly practiced, unfortunately, among new leaders, but when they find results,
okay,
they seem to carry that right through in their leadership to maturity, which is sad. And here we had a new leader who had followed a really great leader. Samuel was incredible. And he thought probably to himself, "There's no way I can measure up. I've got to get these people to follow me. Samuel anointed me, but nobody knows what I can do. So the best way I know to get them to follow me is to intimidate them rather than use my influence." It probably was the first marker as to why he wasn't a really qualified leader. Other things disqualified him, but this began to be that which would allow the people to not put near as much confidence in him as they needed.
The scary thing about that leadership style is when you read the scripture, the results actually happened.
Yeah.
The people did follow him.
Yeah.
Now, is that sustainable? Probably not. And can you continue to get people to do the right thing through intimidation? Probably not. That intimidation style tends to multiply itself. But if you just look on the surface, you think, well, it worked.
Yeah, and God uses a whole lot of things that aren't perfect in order to accomplish His will. And the dangerous thing is this: when it works out, we think, well, He must have put a stamp of approval on it. In actuality, He worked in spite of us. This is not the best way to lead. Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice and they follow me." They aren't driven, they aren't pushed, they aren't intimidated. They just want to be there because they know their shepherd cares for them. Saul didn't exhibit that, yet the Lord said, there's a greater goal here. My people need to be delivered. So even if he doesn't use the right tactic, he doesn't use the right strategy, I still got to get my people delivered. And we leaders need to be really discerning to realize sometimes he does things in spite of us, not because of us.
Thank you, Pastor Brett. That was fantastic. Next time you're in a leadership situation that requires action and there's the pressure, there's always a choice. Do I move toward intimidation or do I use godly influence? Either one might get the job done for a moment, but only one honors God and only one has a guaranteed longevity. So let me encourage you, use your influence, the relational influence, the next time you need to move people as a leader. And listen, when you're leading, there's always a choice. When the job has to get done. Okay.
That's good.
There we go, yeah. I'm talking to Every Nation leader, so get real specific.